Howdy. This is my rant of the day, and it's part of a series of rants of the day that I call Reasons Not to Become a Combat Engineer. And this one is a part 2 of that series, a specific part that I call Madelyn. So I'm going to set the stage here with one of my buddies who had committed suicide, and I'm gonna just say this because it's important. I don't want to trigger anybody, so that's just what I'm gonna precursor it with. And essentially what had happened was my buddy, years leading up to this, we had talked before I went to Arizona. We were talking at the annual training before I went to Arizona about how he would come to drill, he'd be belittled. He felt like, outside of drill sucked. The things that he was dealing with were horrible. He was having a really hard time outside of drill, and then he'd come, and these NCOs would bully him. The people around were bullying him. He just felt like, like garbage. And what had happened was, we fast forward. Well, first of all, I'll say a little bit more. He said he felt, because he was a little guy, he wasn't like very tall, but he was saying how he felt so small and belittled. He felt like he couldn't carry a backpack. He felt, like a rucksack. He felt like he couldn't do anything. He felt useless. And then he said to top it all off, they're smoking us in the hot sun. They're doing this and that to us. They're hazing us, and it sucks. And I can't take it anymore. And, fast forward, I'm in Arizona for 7 months. I learn what good leadership actually is. I start to grow up and get a backbone, and I come back. And it's during one of these drills that we have a talk, and he says, ever since you became a specialist and came back from Arizona, you've gotten really mean. And I told him, I said, I've gotten really mean because these assholes have made me mean. And our relationship kind of changed. He tried to fall in with the crowd. He tried to fit in. I don't know how well it worked for him, but he tried to fit in with these people who ostracized him and me and anybody they didn't like. They were just total assholes, very pathetic assholes. And, over time, I get on this other mission, thankfully, where I don't have to be a part of this unit for another 2 years. It was great, except for the fact that, I become a sergeant, right? Because my commander at the unit liked me. You see, not everybody was garbage. I feel like a lot of the officers weren't aware about, the smoking and the hazing. I feel like they didn't really realize how bad it was below them. But, the commander liked me, so he gave me a team leader position. I got promoted while I was on the COVID mission to sergeant after I went to BLC and got qualified to become a sergeant. And this is going to be important for later. Maybe not even in this video it will be important, but it's setting the tone because basically I started to grow my backbone a lot stronger. But on the other hand, I get a call over the summer talking about how my buddy had killed himself, and I felt really horrible about it. I couldn't believe it that I'm sure you could imagine how shitty it is to lose a friend. However, there's this thing called a stand down where everybody comes together to talk about how they feel about the death of my buddy. And we all were together. I saw Madelyn, and I started to realize I shouldn't give this guy fuel. So I was short with him. He asked how I've been, and I knew he was being fake and pathetic. He gave me his smile, trying to pry, trying to figure out more about me, but I wasn't going to give him that because that's one of the big problems is I was gullible. So I wasn't gullible now. I wasn't going to talk to this guy. I wasn't going to be all camaraderie with him, so I shut him down. And then we get to this point where, we're all talking, everybody fills in, everybody comes from all over to talk, and the meeting starts. And what had happened was, it was my turn to talk, and I had said, hey, I know he was struggling. I know that he had told me, his life was really bad outside of drill, and then he'd come back to drill, and he felt like garbage. And he felt like, there was no way out. And I don't want to say what he did was right, but I just really wish him the best. Wherever he is in the world, I wish him the best. If his soul, transfers on somewhere, I hope that he's doing well. And, I hope the best for him, that his suffering is done, And Madelyn stands up and he says, you have to be careful when you're justifying suicide, because suicide is very selfish. And my buddy is a coward for killing himself. That's what he said. He said that my buddy was a coward for killing himself. However, this soldier boy, that's what we'll call him, little soldier boy, because that's what he looked like. He looked like a knockoff Vladimir Putin, by the way, from Wish.com. But anyway, Madelyn, little soldier boy, this is how his life was. He had a wife, he had a dog, he had a house, he had a business, he even worked AGR, which is Active Guard and Reserve, where he was full-time National Guard, about to get a sweet pension for sitting on his ass and doing nothing, and maybe filing paperwork once a week. So this guy had it made for him, but he wasn't living with pieces of shit all day of his life because he was the piece of shit, So he didn't really understand what it's like to put up with the shit that my buddy was putting up with. So from his position, everything is peachy keen because nobody's knocked him on his ass like he deserved. But okay, yeah, he's the coward. You know what I mean? Like, give me a fucking break. This guy did nothing but suck up to the people above him and piss on the people below him. So no idea what he's talking about. But my buddy, he was suffering immensely. And this guy just sits here and calls him a coward. And then you wouldn't believe all the assholes that posted on their Facebook about how, oh, stand strong, my brother, I'll see you in Valhalla. But come on, my guy, you were the same people that were ribbing on him the whole time and making his life worse when he came to drill. So I don't understand what this is. Is it virtue signaling? Are you trying to sound sympathetic, like you care when you don't? Because that's more what it felt like to me. I mean, these people didn't give a shit. They just thought, well, let me ride the wave and look like I wasn't guilty. But okay.
I said fuck my NCOs, 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 I said fuck my NCOs.